Somebody may have heard the story, I apologize. And he's just set up his own studio, and he wants to work with Marvel. So we drive up to somewhere north of Hollywood, north of LA. And we go to Light Storm, too many storms, which is a brand new company, to meet with their new head, a director you may have heard of, last name Cameron. And he'd just done The Abyss. So we go into the conference room. There's this beautiful, huge photograph in like 8 pieces, because it was so big you couldn't make a single frame out of it, of the Fleet ballistic missile submarine crashed at the bottom of the trench in pieces. You know, this is a shot from the rescue sub, or at least one of the subs coming down from the oil rig. And it was way cool. And there are all sorts of other templates lying around. We're talking about the idea this is going to be such a cool thing. And Cameron sits down, he says, yeah, he loves the X-Men, he thinks it's a cool concept, he likes the idea of mutants, yada, 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 blah, 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 we're all kind of, you know, Stan's sitting there going, yeah, Stan. And I'm sitting there kind of going, Jim Cameron, I'm getting a chance to work with Jim Cameron. I'm going, this is going to be so cool. You know, because I thought Piranha 2 was just the bee's knees. Anybody here ever seen Piranha 2? It is cool! You know, and I've got this. I'm not going to direct it. I'm the head of studio. I'm going to be the executive producer, but I've got a really cool director, young director, talented director, totally knows what they're doing. And I'm thinking, okay, that's good. I'm a young director, and I can stand on the sidelines and watch and learn my craft, and who knows, maybe get an acting job. Okay, so, and I'm going to work with the director, and if something goes wrong, I'll be there to help out. And so I'll be an active producer, and she'll be the director. She's a woman. You'll really like her stuff. You haven't heard of her, but she's really, really good. Director is Catherine Bigelow. I'm sitting there, that's cool, that's cool. Some years later, I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, Catherine, you know, Hurt Locker, you know, wow, you could have won the Oscar. No. And so I'm thinking, wow, Catherine Bigelow, this is going to be so cool. X-Men, the girls strike, you know, well, it'll be good. And then Stan says, hey, I hear you really like Spider-Man. And Cameron goes, oh my God! And he turns into a geek. And the next 15 minutes are him and Stan just banging ideas back and forth. And the rest of us, the Wildstorm guys, me, we're sitting there, and you can just see the school for gifted youngsters incinerate and vanish before our eyes. As Cameron saying, oh man, I'll write the screenplay, I'll direct it, it'll be wonderful, let me act. And he started sketching out the idea. The X-Men went away. Then every other studio that had an option for Spider-Man heard that Cameron was interested, and you'd be amazed at how many times Marvel had sold the rights prior to that moment. Well, we weren't so amazed when they all got into a room together and started punching each other out. And then Cameron threw up his hands and said, screw this, and walked away and did True Lies. Anyway, cut ahead 15 years, and I'm sitting in my office, and I get an email from Fox. We're having trouble with the X-Men. What? No one can figure out how to do it. And the film is about to go into turnaround. Turnaround is not a good thing. If any of you know, that's where movies go to die. Concepts go to die. Now this is after we had a really great meeting with Catherine. Sorry, my brain is not what it should be. Anyway, with the producer. Couldn't you just love it when no, I'm just going to muck you up 5 ways from Sunday, smart aleck, telling this story and your memory's just going to... Anyway, Brian Singer, and they're shooting You've Got Mail in New York, and we're all having this lovely, So Tom Hanks and company are a block over shooting on Columbus Avenue, on West End Avenue, and we're in this restaurant having lunch and talking about the X-Men. And she's there, and her assistant Kevin Feige's there. This is back when Kevin Feige worked for her, and not everybody works for him, which it is now. And so Fox can't figure out how to make the movie work. So I said, the heck with it, and I wrote a memo. I'm sorry, it was my fault. And I said the X-Men is all about prejudice, and the X-Men is all about kids trying to get their act together and working in a world that fears and hates them because they're creepy and different. And Brian could get his head around that. And Lauren Schuler-Donner could get her head around that. See, I told you, 5 minutes, the name comes back. And suddenly we were up and running, and X-Men 1 was in production, and Fox had about as much faith in it as it had in Deadpool. And unfortunately, exactly the same thing happened. Opening day, opening weekend, but bear in mind, this is $2,000, so we're talking real money. 99 million bucks in 2.5 days. And Fox goes, because as far as the big name money star of X-Men was Patrick Stewart. Because Ian McKellen, wow, an award-winning, brilliant, and absolutely wonderful actor who I've been a fan of since I was a wee nubbin. He's great, but he's not a movie star. And come on, Halle Berry, she's really beautiful, but what has she made that's actually made money? Or been an acting challenge? And, Anna Paquin, okay, she won Best Supporting Actress when she was like 2. And let's see, who else have we got in X-Men 1? Wrestlers and, people you'll never hear of again. So it's what we call not a big, it's not a big budget movie. And yet it comes in with almost a 9-figure gross. And Fox is going, because they've never signed anybody to multi-film contracts. Oh, did I mention that 3 months before X-Men opened, that actress who'd never done anything memorable won Best Actress of the Year for Monsters Ball? Did I mention that the actor that they got really cheap because because Doug Ray Scott broke his ankle filming Mission Impossible 3 retakes, and asked Fox, could you hold production while I heal? And Fox, with its usual tact, said, no. So Lauren goes to her wish list and calls London, and gets this actor over to New York for an audition. He just won Best Actor of the Year in a musical for playing Curly in Oklahoma. Now, let's face it, Curly in Oklahoma is exactly the sort of character you want to play Wolverine, right? There's a bright open haze in the meadow. The bad guy, his head just went flying and he's dead. My claws are so sharp. Anyway. So he comes over, auditions, and everybody kind of goes, humana, 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 humana. And Fox figures, hey, he's an actor. He's a theater actor. He's British. We'll get him cheap. So off he goes to Canada to film X-Men. And oh yes, did I mention that in the 3 months that they were filming, Hugh Jackman suddenly became like, oh my God, it's Hugh Jackman. So everybody associated with the X-Men had suddenly turned into, oh yeah, and Ian McKellen, the Scots guy who never does anything, had this gig in New Zealand with this director who, you know, never did anything cool at all. And let's face it, Carolco is not exactly a successful film company, and it was their last $100 million, and who the heck is going to see a movie about dwarfs? And rings, for gosh sakes. So, by the time they got around to negotiating X-Men 2, it was a whole different play. So, adventures. What was the question? Filming in the Marvel X-Men land has always been an adventure. And it got more of it. Fox was very cool with Marvel so long as Marvel was Marvel. The problem occurred when Marvel was a fully licensed subsidiary of another company which shall remain nameless. Because since I read the X-Men, I'm not allowed to say that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Zippity-doo-dah. Sorry, that was Ike after the... Anyway. Let's say there was a conflict of interest between, you know, your movies are bigger than my movies. And when Kevin's movies began outselling Fox's movies by a factor of 10, and then Kevin had the temerity to hook up with Joss Whedon, and they figured out how to print money. It got embarrassing. And then they went on television. Well, let's face it, Disney did it the old-fashioned way. They just bought ABC. And Fox found, there's nobody for us to buy. You know, darn. So anyway, and all I kept saying was, well, what do you expect? The X-Men used to live in Australia. Anyway, that's, so Marvel movies are fun, the X-Men are fun, Apocalypse should be, well, the heck with Apocalypse, but I'm really looking forward for Psylocke. You know, well, come on, I mean, it's like, shouldn't you be, like, doing a news report or something? I mean, you were so good on Newsroom, man. I can't wait to see it. Wow, if she'd only dealt with the network with the swords this way. And Jubilee's in it, so what the hell?
Yeah.
And it looks like they got Mystique her original, apparently. It looks, I mean, she's in a blue outfit with a white t-shirt, so I'm thinking, wow, they're going for the original costume look. Beats being naked. But, you know, I think it'll be fun, but we'll know in a month. Assuming Captain America leaves any money in the world left. I mean, yes, Batman and Superman, it made its money overseas. How did it do in America? It made its money overseas. But you know, That's Batman Superman. This is Captain America. Civil War. With the immortal line, Tony, you've got to understand. He's my friend. I thought I was your friend. I mean, God, Tony and Cap. Hagar didn't see that coming. You realize I have absolutely no idea what I'm saying, and God help you if you're taking